So our next speaker will be Colin Siyuan Chinnery, who's an artist and curator based in Beijing. He's co-founder and director of the Sound Art Museum in Beijing, and we work closely with him for very key element in our exhibition, which were the sound points, the sound points that you can find in the gallery. And today he's going to talk about using sound to explore ancient languages of Xinjiang. Welcome, Colin.
Thank you very much. Oops. So, no notes. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Brilliant. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what to say. So first of all, I really want to thank the British Library for inviting me to be part of this really nice conference. And it's an honor to be back here in the British Library. And I want to, in particular, congratulate Melody, Dumi, and Kitty Liu on curating a wonderful exhibition, which I saw for the first time this morning. As I'll be introducing to everyone today, Sound Art Museum and myself, we had some collaboration with this exhibition, and I was really, really happy with how it was done. And I'm here today really to talk about, rather necessarily than research points, but it is research, is kind of curatorial points, which is another form of research, because it's how to introduce research and how to introduce other people's research to a broader audience. And today we're going to talk about how sound fits into that tapestry of knowledge and introducing knowledge to other people. So, as Melody just introduced me, I co-founded this organization called Sound Art Museum. That's our entrance there. And I'll talk about that a bit later. But first... No, be quiet. I need to speak first, and then it's your turn. Melody introduced us, the Sound Art Museum, as introducing some of the sound points into the exhibition. And so at the beginning of this presentation, I want to introduce some of those sound points. You may have heard and seen the manuscripts in the exhibition, but we can talk about how that came together today. So, first of all, there's this Tibetan manuscript, which is about how valuable paper was. I think this is the key point. Is there are two pieces of this manuscript we can see. One piece is a list of prohibitions, like a list of people who have been naughty with paper. It's not a thing today, but apparently it used to be. So there's things that there's a list of things that you must do, and how scribes should allocate paper, and how the paper should be treated and allocated properly. And then there's a list of people who have made crimes against paper. It's a kind of they haven't treated the paper according to the regulations. And I think I can let him speak now. We'll speak together. Yeah. And this is a part in which what he's reading out is a part in which there's one scribe who was singled out here, who is talking about how the scribe didn't act according to the rules, and therefore the punishments are as follows. So there is certain things that will happen to you if you don't treat the paper accordingly. So, for example, your family's cattle and livestock can be confiscated, or in severe cases, you can be whipped. And in particular, it is 10 whips, or 10 lashes by the whip, per roll of paper. So, there's been a lot of whipping described in the lectures of today and yesterday, especially yesterday. Yeah, and talking about rolls of paper and being fined by the whip, I really think they'd probably have a heart attack if they knew that we use toilet paper nowadays. That's a really big misappropriation of use of paper. So this is the manuscript of the Tibetan manuscript in the exhibition, and the sound of the manuscript being read out using the Tibetan of the time. The next manuscript is something, it's a very famous document. It's Ancient Sogdian Letter number 3. And this really shows how the life of Dunhuang, how varied it was in the different peoples and the different, as we just saw, what regulates life in Dunhuang, but also the condition of life in Dunhuang and the difficulties they faced. This particular letter is very well known because of how vivid it was in describing the situation which one particular woman found herself in Dunhuang. She was, I'll think I'll let her speak for herself. So this is a Sogdian lady who is writing to her, who was writing to her husband, who apparently had deserted her and left her in Dunhuang with no ways of, no income, no money, left her destitute. And yeah, so in one point, it was very clear how unhappy she was because she said, I'd rather be married to a dog's or a pig's wife than yours. So that is something which I think the exhibition and the way the exhibition was curated is very clear in that the different sections of the exhibition showed different aspects of life, and each aspect of life was not something which was monolithic. Each aspect of life within was actually very varied. And it's a small exhibition, but I think it was very, very succinct in putting across this point. And what I think sound does is activates some of those things. So, of course, we found a lady scholar to read out this particular letter. Actually, I was talking to Melody just now and just saying, but maybe she could have sounded more angry when reading. But I think she sounded plaintive, and that was good enough for me. And then I'm not going to do all the manuscripts, don't worry, just a few of them, just to show the variety of subject matters being dealt with. So this is the Book of Omens. That's in Old Turkic, in a runic script. And this Book of Omens is really interesting because it's about divination, and this is a very unique form of divination where the top of the dots at the top of the manuscript shows kind of the dots of dice that I don't know the technicalities of how this divination would have been carried out, but there is a relationship between the dots at the top, which could be dice, and then the description below, which is what the divination is. So, for example, I think I'll.
1. Tensimen. Yarın kiçi altın örgün öze olurban məngla yürmen. Ança bilinler et gol. 2. Ala atlık yol tengrimen. Yarın kiçi aşnur.
So some of these divinations, these omens are very elaborate. So there's one that says, I am a predatory eagle with golden wings. Although the feathers of my body are not yet fully grown, lying down by the sea, I catch what I please, eat what I like, that powerful am I. Know this, the omen is good.
At goal. 4. Urung asrı toğan kuşmen.
So where does this project of putting sound onto ancient documents come from? So this is the project that I'm primarily here to introduce, which is the Ancient Sounds of Xinjiang, Ancient Languages of Xinjiang. And this is the exhibition room that you can see here at Sound Art Museum. It's just some pictures of what it looks like. So it's very simple. It's actually a touchscreen computer, so you interact with the screen directly with your finger, and then you listen to the sounds using earphones. And you have an interactive map. You can search for the manuscripts you want to listen to using the map, different regions, or you can search it using languages. There's only a few languages listed here, or subject matter. And then once you select a manuscript to listen to, it enters into the details, which gives you the title of the manuscript, of course, what language it's in, the date, the archaeological site where it was discovered, and of course there's all sorts of physical information about size, dimensions, and materials, and there's an introduction to what it's about. There's a transcription and a translation into Chinese. And of course you can enlarge the images to see the manuscripts, and most importantly of all is this button here, which allows one to listen to the actual manuscript itself. So we worked with lots of scholars on this particular project. So Zhang Zhan is an independent scholar of Middle Eastern languages, and he organized the reading of all the non-Chinese language documents. For the Chinese documents, we worked with Professor Li Yanling, a historian at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, to identify interesting documents throughout the ages of the Chinese manuscripts. And then the independent scholar of ancient Chinese languages, Zheng Zining, then read out all the Chinese manuscripts. And then the academics that we see below here are the scholars who read out the ancient languages that are non-Chinese. So the question is, why sound? Well, my job as curator is really to activate audiences in new and interesting ways. And sound is very often overlooked. For example, we think about books and language. Spoken language is treated just as information. So you listen to language, you don't think sound. You simply listen to the information that is being conveyed. And sound, of course, is simply the medium by which that information reaches your ear and is interpreted by your brain. So, of course, I'm not complaining about this. This is totally normal. Sound is just a medium that carries information. It can be. But interestingly enough, as soon as the language becomes something you don't understand, then it reverts immediately back to sound. So it's sound. And then if you speak in a language you understand, it's information. So that's an interesting thing about sound. If you think about a book on paper, the written word, well, then what is that? The language written on the written word was on paper or whatever material, then that's also information. And the medium is the book or the paper or the vellum or whatever material is supporting the written language. So it's totally natural to think of mediums as divorced from the message, so to speak. However, when it comes to books and the written word, of course, language itself sound is the root of all language. Written word came long after humans began speaking. So, and then even when books were written, then sound was still a part of the tradition of reading. I think it was then very late when actually silent reading became the norm. It's very difficult to confirm this, and there's lots of scholarly debate about when this happened and where it happened. Of course, there's going to be divergences across different cultures, and it's very difficult to confirm, but reading out aloud seemed to be the norm up to very, very recently, comparatively speaking. So sound and the written word were actually one and the same thing. Now we think of reading silently. I mean, I just think of like Socrates or Aristotle going into the British Library reading rooms and being kicked out for like making too much noise. They would have read out aloud whatever they're reading. And so that is the relationship between the written word and sound. Of course, now we are completely used to divorcing the two, and that's how we live our lives, and that's completely normal. However, when thinking about making an exhibition using sound, treating ancient texts and looking at ancient life through books, which is really interesting because in this British Library exhibition, I think it's maybe easier to feel the drama of everyday life through the written word rather than objects, which is really interesting. And then what sound does then is that if you look at a book and it's in a vitrine to be protected, and it's an ancient object, and you venerate it as an ancient object, and you are divorced from that object, even no matter how important or beautiful it is. But then when you have sound, there's somebody reading it. So it's like that person is in your ear. Then there's something part of your brain, part of you as a knowledge-receiving machine that is activated, and it just adds something, we feel, potentially, to the experience and learning. So that's why sound. And how did this project come to be? Well, it actually started out as an art project. I'm an artist as well, and I get commissioned to do different projects. And this was from the Enwoods Museum, which is a contemporary art institution, but they're very interested in Silk Road culture because they also have a collection of Kizil murals. So this is something that I wrote about that particular exhibition. And why did they invite me? Because actually, I used to work for the international. I used to work for IDP here at the British Library between '98 and 2002. I think it was at the very early. I might have been the first full-time staff member working for Dr. Susan Whitfield, or at least one of the earliest people working for IDP as a team member. And one of the things I did for that project, apart from scanning, and I did a lot of scanning, was... Thank you for this. Yes, by the way, I've left my mark on IDP, I'll tell you. Every manuscript that's from the Stein collection has a little ruler at the bottom, a little like white ruler. That was me. Anyway, one thing that is no longer a part of the IDP was the map search. And so what I felt was really interesting was that Stein, using his amazing maps and also site maps, and then when he excavated manuscripts and other objects, he gave them site information, very precise site information. I thought that giving that geographical and spatial context would really help scholars a lot in contextualizing the manuscripts. So we created actually a map search. You can drill down right into particular rooms and discover objects there. Of course, that didn't make sense as soon as other collections came into IDP, which didn't have that information, so that was taken down. But I used that then to create the logic for this other project, which I wanted to, I've got a few minutes left, just 2 minutes left. So what I wanted to do was create a dialogue using different people, different protagonists, in different points of time in Xinjiang and Dunhuang, using different languages, and they would be speaking to each other, using this kind of in a dialogue, and it would make sense, but at least to me, it would make sense to an audience. But it crosses time and language, and mostly in dead languages. But that was a project. But doing the research, and this is that was the research for the maps, and I overlaid these maps, this is a map of Inner Most Asia onto Google Earth, and I did the research, and then did the temporal research on different languages and time, different languages, how they're grouped spatially. This is Khotanese, this is Parthian, Old Turkic, and seeing how I could create this dialogue through time and space. So that was, I did the groundwork as an art project. But then when we opened the Sound Art Museum, I realized that all that research that I did for an art project, that didn't happen. It didn't happen because the censors shot down my project. They couldn't understand anything what was being said, and Xinjiang's a sensitive place. So I don't know, maybe they thought somebody was saying something very naughty in Tocharian B. I don't know. So anyway, having all this research allowed me to create a project that was more, of course, museological, that could introduce the ancient languages of Xinjiang through sound to a modern audience, hearing languages that haven't been heard for maybe over 1,000 years. So the last minute of overtime of my presentation, I will give a very brief tour of our museum, very, very, very brief. This first room is the sounds of Old Beijing, which is the very roots of our museum, because I did a lot of research into Old Beijing sounds before put together the museum. I need to say that I'm co-founder. I'm not founder. My other co-founder, his name is Hongfeng, who is from Beijing, and we put the museum together. The next section, the next exhibition is the sounds of Antarctica. This is sounds of nature. We worked with a wonderful sound recordist called Chris Watson on this, and he's the sound recordist for many of those famous David Attenborough documentary films that we love and have loved for the last 30 years. So he's been working with Attenborough for 30 years, and we're very honored to be working with him long-term on various sounds of nature. And this is the sounds of Hotan music, which we introduce. Again, this is a Xinjiang theme. That's why we wanted to pair the language with the music. It's not the same era at all, but it's all treating one geographical area, treating culture and time, and having people think about the differences and variety that happens over time. There's a science of sound, the physics of sound. These are interactive installations, and this is a social interaction where we ask members of the public what sounds they like, what are their favorite sounds, and we put their favorites, record them, we put them into our exhibition system. So this exhibition is called Our Sounds, so it's the sounds of everyday. So we have meditation spaces. This is going to be our future. This is going to be our future archive, and then we have of course, we have to have a bar, don't we? After a hard work of curatorial intensity, a curator needs to relax. And of course, we have a music concert platform, and we do regular concerts, and a restaurant, of course, a restaurant, yeah. And just want to leave you with a very warm welcome that if anyone here is visiting Beijing or returning to Beijing, please contact me, and I'll welcome you to our museum. Thank you very much.